Ladies and gentlemen, and variations thereupon, this is your pilot speaking, Phoebe. I am the producer here for the VML. You might have noticed we've started a little bit early. That's because we've got something special planned here for you during this wonderful wildcard week. So, uh, we will be starting our stream at the normal time. We just needed to get the uh, stream up and running. So I do thank you for your patience. Um, and if you guys would just, folks would just remain calm, everything is fine. Nothing is, everything is fine, really. So, we'll be with you as soon as we are ready, but we are, here in anticipation of something really cool. So, sit tight for just a little while longer. Thank you. Just to give everybody a little bit more of a heads up, we are still waiting on a few things here, so we do appreciate your patience. We will start the stream as soon as we have everybody ready. We just need to get up a little bit earlier than we normally do. So I thank you for your patience. We'll be ready as we possibly can. Thank you. And yes, outside of the very, very brief time that Hayu was dealing with a fire escape, this is in fact the longest that I've spoken on stream for the VML, like, at all. So, hi there, all of you who don't really know my voice. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go back to hiding behind my console now. For those of you just joining us and wondering why we're on this screen instead of the spiffy little countdown, this is your pilot, Phoebe, the producer. We are still waiting for a few things. We just needed to get up and running a little bit earlier than usual this time, but we do thank you for your patience. As soon as we're ready to start, I will start all that wonderful stuff. So please continue to be patient, and as soon as we are able to start, we will. Thank you. Hello there, everybody. This is Phoebe, the producer. Just wanted to let you guys know we are still running just a little bit late due to some surprise fun stuff coming up. The fun stuff is not just magic. That's the usual fun stuff that we have. That's not a surprise. What is surprising is that I'm talking as much as I am, but nonetheless, uh, do sit tight for just a little bit longer. We will start, like I said, just a little bit later while we get everything prepped. So I do thank you for your patience, everyone. We love you so much here at the VML. We couldn't do this without you guys, so please continue to be patient just for a little bit longer. Thank you. Welcome, everybody who just joined us through the raid from Jim Davis, MTG. We are so thankful that you guys are here. We're starting just a little bit late, especially for you guys. So we do thank you for your patience. As soon as we are able to get going here, we will. We're just waiting on a couple other little technical things, but do stick around. We appreciate this. And as soon as we get somebody on there, we will. But this will just be a few more moments. Thank you very much.
Welcome, everyone, to the VML, sponsored by Wizards of the Coast. My name is Nicole Callahan. I am joined by the amazing Kuro. Kuro, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm experiencing some camera trouble, but rest assured I'm here and I'm ready to go.
So ready to go, ready to get wild in our wild card week. That's right. We are an 11-week long Magic the Gathering Arena League showcasing the talents of amazing people of marginalized genders within the Magic community. We started with 128 players, and just last week, we cut the field down to our playoffs. That's right. We are down to 48 players, and we are going to watch some of the first round of wild card Magic tonight. The players were divided into 16 divisions. There were 7 weeks of round robin play, and we took the top of each division. They got a bye onto the top 32, but the second place finisher in each division, and then the next 8 players in at the top of the standings all get to play this week to stay alive because it's do or die time. This is you go big or go home. So I think these players were looking to go big this week. Speaking of big, Worlds had just happened last weekend, and we can see that made a huge impact on deck selection for our playoff players this week. So exciting because there's a lot on these lines for these players. They're playing for cash. The top 16 get qualifier weekend badges. The top 8 get regional championship invites, and they get to compete in the VML championships, which are coming up this December. So excited. And again, a big thank you to Wizards of the Coast for making this possible, making the VML happen. We appreciate you. And I'm so excited to kick off playoffs. So let's do it.
Yeah, I'm ready to get this show on the road.
And we are going to start by looking at this metagame breakdown. Like I said, Worlds just happened, the World Championship, which did have some current and former VMLers in it, which was awesome to watch. It's definitely a smaller field tournament, but it has huge meta shifting, decisions made in it. That tournament it made such a huge impact on what decks people brought this week. And Duskmorn is still a relatively new set. So people were kind of still figuring out standard. Some of these pro players hold up in a testing house for a week, 2 weeks, testing everything, and came out with decks like Dimir Demons, which is at the top of our metagame breakdown. Do you want to tell me a little more about that deck, Kuro?
Yeah, Dimir Demons is such an interesting deck that we've been seeing a little bit recently. It utilizes the new room mechanic from Duskmorn. You have the Unholy Annex being an incredible draw engine that not only acts as a Phyrexian arena for yourself, but can also drain your opponent for 2 every turn if you have a demon out. It even gives itself a demon, so it's basically all upside. We've been seeing a little bit more of the shells of these Doomsday Excruciator decks, but it's been sort of becoming more of a tempo deck, so there's other threats rather than it just being the only win condition. Absolutely cool deck. We are also seeing a lot more Dimir mid-range. Seems to be Dimir is definitely shaping up to be a very powerful color combination for the format. And of course, ye old mono red aggro, tried and true, always good, sometimes great, and really just one of the really reliable archetypes out there in the format. There's a lot of really good stuff here.
Right. You can see a lot of consistency. A lot of people describe their Golgari mid-range Golgari ramp decks as just consistent value, consistency, good. Like you said, mono red going out there just consistently. You know what your game plan is with mono red. There's no dancing around it. It's like, okay, I just want to kill my opponent by turn 5. So let's do it. Same thing with the Gruul Prowess deck that's been hanging around. Now I do see decks like Domain Ramp kind of falling off a little bit. We saw that underperform at the World's Championship. And also these mono white token control decks. We saw that iteration sort of start as Boros and then has kind of shifted to mono white, some of them splashing blue, maybe. We're going to get to see a couple of those decks in action tonight. Do you have any insight on these token control decks?
Well, you're using a Caretaker's Talent is quickly shaping up to be one of the most threatening white enchantments or white cards in the format overall. It's such an oppressive draw engine, and being essentially a tempered steel for your tokens, it's just an all upside card. Every time I see it come down on the opposing side, I always like, oh man, I really wish I had a disenchant for this. Uh, and sometimes I go and I draw a disenchant, and I go, wow, I sure am glad I had disenchant for this.
It's lovely when it works out like that, right?
For sure, 100%. But the problem is it draws so many cards by itself that even like if you kill it, they're still getting value, and it is really difficult to play around, especially when it's paired with the Forge.
Oh,
The
for
Forge's
sure.
annoyingness
Uh,
in her best way.
well, we will get to see how some of these decks perform tonight on our wild card week, and we're going to get right into match number 1 here. We have Andrea Smith brought Dimir Demons. We saw this deck take down the World Championship this past weekend, and I love that little Glimmer Bunny. You know what? That just popped out to me. My son actually had one of those over the weekend when we were at MagicCon. We were enjoying ourselves. His favorite thing the entire weekend, he had a foil Glimmer token that he just bent to heck. But it was the cutest thing, and he would hold it and go bunny. So I'm partial to that one too. So good pick there, Andrea. But now back to the deck. Dimir Demons, great deck, a balanced deck, has good control of the tempo of the game. What are the strengths and weaknesses of this Dimir Demons deck?
Well, one of the things it has is that it's plain black, and black currently has some of the best removal in the entire format. Cut down, go for the throat, and even a smattering of Anoint with Afflictions, a card we've been seeing a lot more recently. Very nice exile. And you have just a lot of ways to deal with what your opponent is doing. Just simply put, the best answers. And then you have some of the best. You have some really good card advantage engines as well. You have Jace, which is very very nice for the sort of slow burn. The Annex, of course, like I talked about, being nice card draw. And really curiously, we have a playset of Duresses here. You don't always see a playset of Duress, but when you see a lot of main deck Duresses, that's how you know that the non-creature spells are really key pieces of glue in the format that keep things going. And this is really a strong indicator of this. And those they may be useful relatively against the Golgari list, but they're definitely good, if not great, in many matchups.
I love seeing that. So maybe a little pre-sideboarding there from our Dimir Demons player, Andrea. And let's take a look at her opponent today, Marceline. Now, she has brought Golgari mid-range with her favorite token being the flying deer demon. So that's which would be on the other side of the table here. But Marceline also is playing the rooms from the Dimir Demons deck. So an interesting addition to the Golgari mid-range.
Yeah, we're seeing the same type of strategy. We have a lot of really fantastic black removal. We have a lot of interesting black card advantage spells. But the difference is that this deck plays a lot more with really huge and efficient creatures. The blue-black deck, of course, with Archfiend of the Dross is very efficient, but doesn't really get on the ground very fast. This Golgari list, on the contrast, tries to get down pretty early and pushes through as much as possible by using removal to sort of push through all the walls that are go in there. For annexes, of course, this is going to be an annex battle, I think. There's going to be a lot of Phyrexian arenas coming down and a lot of life loss, life gain happening. It's going to be a good old back and forth, I think.
I cannot wait to see these two decks in action against each other here. Again, we have Andrea playing Dimir Demons against Marceline playing Golgari midrange. This is for their playoff lives. We're in the playoffs. It's when to move on. You lose, you go home. And an interesting opener here. We see we're watching from the side of Andrea has double Restless Reef, Dark Slick Shores. So some tapped mana to start things off, but early action in Caustic Bronco and Unholy Annex. What do you think about this opener?
I like it a lot, actually. Even though this blue black deck isn't as aggressive as the Golgari deck, Andrea has some options here. The Caustic Bronco coming down turn 2 sounds really tempting until you realize that this Golgari deck has tons of 2 mana removal spells. And while removing a 2 mana spell on Marceline's side is kind of annoying, Andrea doesn't have a 3 mana creature to put down. This may or may not be good. This may or may not be bad because the Annex can come down as well. It's going to be a big card advantage battle, basically. Uh,
Yeah, and we see Caustic Bronco staring down Caustic Bronco. Shoot the Sheriff is going to be the find on Andrea's side, and we'll see. It looks like willing to trade a horsey for a horsey, seeing that there are several removal spells in hand here. Like you said, it's removal to removal. Do you like the trade there?
I do, because the creature coming in and getting a card is very nice there, and it allows the trade basically is a 0 for 1. You're killing her creature, and then you're getting your own value. You got a removal spell that you can use to remove something else. This duress is nice. A removal spell is taken because Andrea does not want Marceline to kill those big demons. The anoint with affliction, not a huge issue. Andrea's big threats are not 3 mana creatures, but that go for the throat needs to go.
Ooh, Cruel Claws heist. So going
Yes.
to gift a card here, it looks like. And Andrea's thinking about and looks like she will play Fairy Mastermind in response.
This annex is going to go away, unfortunately. Yeah, that is Andrea's main source of card advantage. But the Fairy Mastermind does get around it quite nicely. So Marceline does have to kill the Mastermind first before doing anything else.
Yes, and that Fairy Mastermind already doing a little work, getting in for 2. So Marceline drops down to 17 life. And we see in Marceline's hand at least another Caustic Bronco. Uh, we see one of them coming down right now, an Anoint for Affliction and double Mosswood Dread Knight, as well as one unknown card. Shoot the Sheriff, going to take care of that Bronco before any card advantage can happen there. And time to draw for turn.
It's a very subtle choice to use the shoot the sheriff there. I quite like it. The anoint with affliction is clearly being saved for the Mosswood Dread Knights because killing the Bronco is whatever, but if you destroy the Dread Knight, it'll come back and you'll be able to adventure it again. So Andrea really wants to exile those Dread Knights. That's basically what anoint with affliction says currently. It says exile target Dread Knight. So she's thinking far ahead here. This Caustic Bronco, like for instance, might even be not countered, but that's fine. Doesn't have to be.
And it looks like instead a Fairy Mastermind activation. So going to draw and then draw once again, since Marceline
Ooh.
got to draw there. We see a second spell stutter and Unholy Annex was a big draw.
I do like the Annex, but there's an argument to not play it because Andrea has so many 2-mana spells. If you play the Annex, you can only play one 2-mana spell afterwards. But if Andrea holds up mana, she can hold up the Fairy Mastermind trigger. She can hold up 3 removal spells for whatever Marceline wants to do. Marceline's only on 3 mana, so she does not have very much going on. Oh,
And it looks like Andrea might want to get this card engine rolling. We'll see what she decides to do. And it looks like she will.
all
She's
right.
going to fire off that Unholy Annex, still at a healthy 18 life. Going to drop down to 16 here, but is going to be drawing no less than 2 cards a turn now.
Yes. 2 cards on her turn, 2 cards on the opponent's turn. These hands are not going to be empty at any time this game, I think. It's purely going to be a lands and threats battle for sure. And while Andrea has less threats, she does have more counterspells. And those spell starters are looking quite nice as being surrogate mana leaks.
Yes, we see a Mosswood Dread Knight #1 coming down here. Now, 2 of Marceline's lands, as well as both of the green sources that Marceline has access to, are pain lands. They're both Llanowar wastes. So that can't be discounted here, as Marceline is already at 12 and Andrea has an unanswered Fairy Mastermind still in play, with 2 Restless Reefs, now a third in play, as well as, an impending 6/6 demon that could come down at any time.
Now, hold on a second. Impending is not the mechanic on this
Oh,
room.
sure. It's close.
Da- 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 da.
Not gonna
Are you
unlock
being
that door
silly
quite yet.
today? The fact that this Dread Knight is being allowed to attack and not even like it was allowed to resolve, it was totally fine. And Andrea's like, all right, sure, I'll exile this. And Marceline's like, well, all right, I guess I'm not drawing a 4th land. Andrea is in an extremely good position right now. A second Fairy Mastermind coming down could mean a lot here.
We see Tear Asunder attempting to take care
Wow.
of that unholy annex, and Andrea is like, "Do not touch my rooms." And a double Fairy Mastermind right now. So Marceline dropping down to 5 and unlocking the room goes Andrea, able to hold up both a removal spell, a double removal spell here, and a counter spell in Spell Stutter. So there's the 4th land from Marceline, but is it too little too late?
Yes, unfortunately. Marceline does not have any 1 mana spells in her main deck, so there's no. She's only casting one thing, and she can't kill all 3 of Andrea's creatures, and also a activate land, animate land. Yeah, Andrea recognized that Marceline had very few lands and played accordingly. She could afford to play extremely conservatively because Marceline wasn't really getting down that many threats. And the Caustic Bronco like Marceline blocking with the Caustic Bronco and sacking it, in hindsight, may not have been as helpful because she could have really used that extra draw to potentially draw a land.
All right.
But there you go. Them's the breaks.
And we'll see Andrea take down game #1 there between these 2 players. Moving to sideboards, we're going to take a look at Andrea's sideboard here. Got a couple negates, an extra Jace, a couple cut downs, Dreams of Steel and Oil, a new addition that we've seen come back into sideboards lately. Liliana, a couple of Anoint with Afflictions, Withering Torment, Deadly Cover Up, Gix's Command, a couple Doomsday Excruciators, and a, a Ghost Vacuum, and some, oh my goodness, that's the X Black robbery.
Oh, the robbery card?
Yes,
Yeah.
outrageous
Um
robbery. I couldn't
outrageous
think of
outrageous robbery is such a cool card, but it really fits it fits a very niche situation.
Mm,
It's very, very, very good against the grindy decks because if you can steal like 1 or 2 counter spells, oh, you're smooth sailing. It's extremely good. But if you're playing against like mono red, it's pretty awful. You definitely don't want to play it against the aggressive decks. You always want it on against the sort of more grindy decks. There's an argument to be made that you could play it here, but I don't think she needs it. She has enough removal.
all right.
Like
Um,
this hand is very reasonable, for
yes,
instance.
and we see Andrea did cut one of the Jaces, so is down to 1 Jace in the main. We know that that is part of a sort of a combo with the demon, and is that a plan B there though for Andrea? Like wanting to cut all but 1 Jace and all but 1 of the Doomsday Excruciator? Is that because that's just not what she wants to do in this matchup?
I think it is dependent on how the game goes, but it's sort of saying I don't make this. I'm definitely not doing this as my main plan. Like I agree with you, it feels like a plan B for sure. It's it is a plan, but with the addition of the other demons and other threats, it is less of a main plan, even in the main deck, I think.
Yeah, and we see Mosswood Dread Knight was ready to saddle up that Caustic Bronco before Caustic Bronco had to go to the graveyard from that and go for the throat. So we'll see that being taken care of. Jace the Perfected Mind looking to come down for a Phyrexian mana. So going to come down on a bit of a lower
Huh.
loyalty here. So just on 3, plusing up to 4, targeting the Mosswood Dread Knight. And Marceline able to make her 4th land drop here. So we'll see if this is a different game this time around.
That is a nice second Dread Knight, actually, because now the Jace is not sufficient. But unfortunately, Andrea is really drawing a lot of her card draw. And this room, if it comes down, is so incredibly devastating.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh.
That was a pretty good grab by Dreams of Steel and Oil. We see Sheoldred exiled, gone, goodbye forever. Don't want to see that one again. Does have the Anoint for Affliction to answer the non-minus Dread Knight, but like you said, it's not that Andrea isn't going to be able to win this game. Jace alone is going to need to get that Unholy Annex down at some point, correct?
Oh yeah, for sure. The card advantage is definitely very. Oh, there's an Archfiend. Nice. Andrea's kind of running out of gas, actually. Unfortunately, this Jace's time is very limited.
Yes.
And she's gonna have to figure out what to do with it.
And it looks like Andrea recognizes that as well, going to make Marceline mill a couple cards and going to draw a card, but it is another land and another land off of the annex at the end step too. So I think we could probably say goodbye to Jace here. And Marceline going to attack with both creatures just to make sure.
Yeah, Andrea's thinking maybe there's a possibility that Marceline might just lose to the Archfiend. I think I would start kind of maybe playing to that a little bit, depending on how the game goes. But I think Andrea's plan here is to probably, yeah, get rid of any way to deal with the demon and then make a demon so that the life gain can work in her
Yeah.
favor.
We'll see that is what is happening here. Ritual Chamber going to make a 6/6 flying demon. So Unholy Annex will now
Ooh.
drain and gain and go for the throat. A great draw.
If you're thinking about what Andrea is trying to do, you can realize that if Marceline has one more turn, right? Because
Right.
that demon is a 6/6, but it's going to lose her the game if it stays out too long. If Marceline does not draw a removal spell, Andrea could just think, okay, all I have to do is survive one more attack. If I survive one more attack, I just win the game outright because of the way that this is currently set up.
Yeah, and we see Marceline decides to just get in with one Dread Knight there. Oh, and that duress is going to take.
Wow.
Oh, wow. That was quite a draw. Duress took the go for the throat out of Andrea's hand, but she's going to follow that up with a draw of Unholy Annex. So going to be able to drain and gain for 4 at the end of each turn. Looking to get in for 6 here. This is 2 turns, whether the Archfiend stays in or not, right?
That's right. Yeah. Well, if the demon oh no, but it doesn't matter because the second annex can make a demon token. So yeah, Marceline is getting heat from the rooms. She's getting heat from her own card. It's not looking too good for her.
No, she needs to end the game this turn. There are no creature lands in play for Marceline. Double cut down in hand. That is a dead card right now. Does have a
Yep.
Mosswood Dread Knight in the bin, but that's not going to do too much here. Getting in for 9. So Andrea down to 7, but that's not quite enough. Mosswood Dread Knight comes down. Is Andrea going to be able to finish it here?
Most like I think so. Because Marceline's gonna untap with that Archfiend if Andrea is not able to drain four life, right? Marceline would therefore need 2 removal spells,
Yeah,
and I
let's
don't think
see.
she has that.
Andrea getting in for 6. This would be lethal. Anoint with Affliction will take care of that demon. There is another demon in Andrea's
Oof.
hand, though, and she's going to play that out. Archfiend of the dross of her own. So this will drain the 4 life from Marceline, and Marceline is at 4. That will do it. And
There it goes.
Andrea is going to take it down at 2 games to none. So an impressive. There's a reason that Dimir Demons took down the World Championship. That deck is something.
Oh, for sure. It's extremely good value. You have the Annex is just wins games by itself in both directions. You get all the card advantage, you deal the extra damage, you get a 6/6 flying demon that basically is really difficult to kill in certain ways. It's just yeah,
Would you
it's
say
just a lot.
that that's the most important card in this matchup
The
on both
Annex, yeah.
sides?
I would evaluate the Unholy Annex as being one of the, if not the most important card in the deck for sure. It just does so much and it's so oppressive. If you have a counterspell, you need to counter the Annex. For instance,
Well,
if you're playing like counterspells.
yes, as we saw Andrea do in that game. So good games to Andrea. She moves on to the top 32 and a great season once again to Marceline. Good games. Hope to see her again next season as we move on to our second match here in Wildcard Week. We're going to be watching Josh. They are playing Azorius Tempo. So we see sort of the helping hand deck here. We got the haughty Jins, the haughty naughty going on, some picklock pranksters, a lot of low curve, some monastery mentors have been bumped to the sideboard here in favor of bigger and better creatures in the main. What do you think about this deck?
I think this deck is well. The first time I saw this deck, I thought, "Wow, it's such a gimmicky build." And then the more I see it, the more I see it played out. It just it's so tight. It's everything works with itself, and it's very snowbally too. You get the stuff out. You get out a Haughty Djinn. Suddenly, all your counterspells cost 1 mana. You get all the card draw. You got a lot of sifting. It's pretty oppressive to play against, and even like graveyard hate that can exist may not always work out because of course you have the soul partitions that work against it. Very cool deck. Looking forward to seeing it. Also, it's Azorius. Also has kind of spells. So I'm a happy camper.
Oh, I'm happy. I'm happy for you. This
Thank
deck
you.
looks great. Abhorrent Oculus is a card that got printed, and people are like, "Whoa, there is definitely going to be a way to like break this and get this into play a lot earlier than having 6 cards in your graveyard." And sometimes,
Oh,
hey, you know what? To be fair, sometimes this deck doesn't put it in play until there are 6 cards in the graveyard, but that doesn't happen too often.
what's an additional cost? I don't know what that is. Anyway,
Right?
1 mana 5/5.
1 mana 5/5. That's what we're going with here. That's what Josh is going to be battling with this week against their opponent, Violet. Violet brought her mono white token control. Now we were talking about this deck a little bit earlier. We see a lot of these decks playing a little bit of blue. We see Jace, the Perfected Mind, in the sideboard, but that's just about it. Any thoughts on this deck? We had touched on Caretaker's Talent being an awesome Magic card that made a huge impact after Bloomburrow, and any other big show shopping cards you see in this deck.
Well, I actually am kind of sort of looking at Laydown Arms a little bit. If it's 1 mana to return an Oculus or a Haughty Djinn, Laydown Arms is 1 mana to exile that thing. So it doesn't even come back. You can't even reanimate it again. So that's a lot of really nice value here. And it's really cheap. And the life total doesn't really matter because you're playing a big go wide tokens list. You're trying your best to get rid of their stuff. There's even a place that have Parting Gust for additional value. Like you can just exile their thing and give them a fish. And as we all know, fish are the key to success.
Yes. Fish are that's definitely a quote. Fish are the key to success. I love that. I
Yes.
I am here for that, and I'm also here for this matchup. So we're gonna see how these two decks line up against each other. Azorius Tempo versus Mono White Token Control. We'll be watching from the side of our Azorius Tempo deck that is Josh. They are on the bottom of your screen, and we have a Violet on the top of your screen playing Mono White Token Control. And unfortunately, a no lander there to start things off from Violet. So gonna ship that one back real quick and keep this better looking 6. What do you see? How do you see? What direction do you see this like game 1 going in?
Violet's hand is very slow. So she's going to be thinking a lot about how to use these parting gusts in a way that messes with Josh's plan. Josh clearly has like a chance to draw 2 cards and discard a Haughty Djinn and then helping hand it back. So there's a really good way to go here. But both players, oh, okay, the Oculus is honestly a better discard than you. But both
Nice
players are
draw.
kind of lucky. both players are kind of lacking in lands, weirdly enough. So Violet's thinking like, oh man, I gotta get this third land. And Josh is like, I gotta draw these lands as well. Well, that is a nice land, but
Yes.
there's a helping hand.
Helping hand, helping things along here as a
Fish.
port Oculus has entered,
Fish
and
time.
we'll see. Fishy, fishy.
But
Here,
wait,
fishy, 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 fishy.
there's counterspell. This is the power of the Oculus deck. You pay 1 mana, get out a gigantic threat that basically wins if it's allowed too long, and then you can keep up 2 mana for a counterspell to prevent an instant speed removal spell. It's amazingly good. I
Yes.
just, I can't. It's just crazy good. It's so hard to fight against it.
Yes. And we see it. So Josh is going to get a manifest dread trigger here. There is another parting gust of Violet's hand. We see lay down arms, also a draw. So again,
That's so nice for Violet. So nice.
and being able to hold that parting gust in hand. So having another answer to the second threat, how big of a deal is that for Violet?
The Haughty Djinn is an interesting threat because if Josh exiles to their graveyard to the Oculus, the Haughty Djinn doesn't really do very much. But if the Oculus is reanimated, the graveyard gets built to such a degree that it's really oppressive and really difficult to fight against.
There's some fishes.
Sorry, did you
Fishes
say
for
fish?
Josh. Fish.
I'm pretty
Fish.
sure there's a fish. Fish,
Fish.
fish, fish.
And we see that all important fourth land being drawn for Violet. Now, funny enough, Violet will not get the treasure token because now Violet and Josh have the same amount of lands, but Violet will get 2 fish of her own. So you were right. It is
Fish.
all about the fish. We're
Fish, fish,
having a fish
fish.
battle.
Fish battle, fish battle, fish battle. Koi pond, koi pond, koi pond. My koi pond is bigger than your koi pond. Here I go. Time to win.
That's what it looks like here as Violet does draw a Sunfall. Now, it doesn't feel great to Sunfall away your own Beza, but a good answer in case things do get out of control, right?
Well, Sunfall is one of those cards against Josh that it isn't actually that good. Um, and Josh is like, oh, I can't bounce my other thing. Into the Floodmaw does say an opponent controls. So Josh
Yes.
cannot bounce their own cards. Sunfall is one of those cards you kind of have to play early in this matchup because if Josh gets a counterspell, then that Sunfall will never, ever, ever resolve. So if Violet is able to remove the Haughty Djinn and prevent that damage from coming in, she needs to take that opportunity because she needs to get her threats down instead. Josh is like a little bit devoid of threats right now. Ooh, these draws are not amazing.
Yeah, it looks like Moment of Truth into Moment of Truth is going to be the play here this turn for Josh. We see an
Nice. Oh no, that's a tap land.
oh, yeah, that doesn't work, but the Oculus does end up in the graveyard, so
Yes.
not the worst, not the worst. A third copy of Into the Flood Maw just says, "No, thank you," as Violet draws a Carrot Cake here, is gonna start getting the Caretaker's Talent engine going, so Carrot Cake, a really good draw to follow up Caretaker's Talent.
There's a huge difference between Josh Oculusing last turn and this next turn because that's one less manifest dread, the trigger. That's one less creature, that's one less potential other thing. Like losing that value is so dangerous against a deck like tokens that likes to really just go absolutely full ham.
All right, and we see going to helping hand out that Oculus back onto the battlefield. Has
Oh my
drawn
goodness.
a haughty Jin off of that chart, of course. So does have another threat after if the abhorrent Oculus gets taken care of. Oh, being able to manifest dread an Oculus into an Oculus, that has to feel good, right?
Oculus, you have everything.
We see ossification coming down here, looking to take care of the first Oculus. See, nobody knows what's under the manifest dread except for us and Josh at this point, though.
You know what I like is this Into the Flood Maw on the ossification.
Yeah.
It sounds really good at first until you realize, oh, this is a token that Violet gets. So
Mhm.
she can just draw a card with the caretaker's talent if that is what happens. So Josh needs to think
That's
very
pretty nice.
carefully about whether they give Violet a token here.
Yeah, that definitely is a choice to be made. We'll see. And
Oh,
oh, there is Violet does have the Archangel Elspeth in hand. Josh has no idea what that card is. Does have that 6/6 token that can be played, and we'll see this will no longer be a private eye, as it were. So flipping over that flipping over that Oculus.
Hey, wait a second. That's not allowed.
I'm
I'm the
cutting your
one with the
mic, Nicole.
bad.
Everybody is in on this one. 5/5 Oculus getting in. Nothing Violet can do to stop these beats.
It's not a huge problem though. Violet does have Carrot Cake, so she is going to gain 3 more life, make a token, draw a card, and scry 1. I love scrying 1 here. And there's nothing Josh can do. Josh could bounce the Caretaker's talent, but I think Violet would still draw a card, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken about how gift works.
I think you're
I
right.
think.
I would agree. We'll see how this is going to resolve, and looks like totally good with this. Sunfall going to be the draw there.
All right, this is a fun little bit of magic knowledge for you people. So the thing is if you into the Floodmart a Caretaker's talent, this gives them the token before the spell resolves, which means that the token will enter and then the talent will be bounced. This means that the talent will draw you a card even though it is left the battlefield because you got a token. So into the Floodmart on Caretaker's talent is rules-wise, unfortunately, not the greatest play in the universe. Oh man, this Sunfall must be very tempting for Violet right now.
Yeah, Violet going to go with the Archangel Elspeth. Now that has been in her hand since the opener. So finally going
Yes.
to get it down onto the battlefield. It's definitely a scary thing, need to be able to protect it from all of the flying threats that Josh can deploy, but feels comfortable enough to be able to protect it here.
I kind of like the Tokasia's Welcome too because Violet's like, if Josh has a counterspell, I want Josh to play it into the Tokasia's Welcome. This Caretaker's Talent is drawing a million cards and a half, right? So Josh is thinking, do I let this draw come through? Because if I do, Violet's basically drawing 2 cards a turn, which is extremely oppressive.
Oh, and we'll see ossification going to be bounce back, gifting a fish. So double Oculus on Josh's side now.
I like the timing of that too. The fish was given at a very specific time so that the Tokasia's Welcome would not give Violet a card draw. Very nice play there.
Definitely like that. And flirting with a haughty Jin there. Now, obviously, this is open deck list. So Josh does know that Violet is playing 4 of Sunfalls. So might be a little hesitant to just jam
Ooh,
out all of their threats here.
that was a whiff,
That was a
unfortunately, with that prankster. 3 lands and an Oculus. It's not a whiff in the sense that like everything is useless, because you can reanimate that Oculus, but if you think that Violet has a Sunfall, you gotta be careful.
Yes. We see it. Josh going, should I cast it? Should I not? Should I cast it? Should I not? And we'll see. And it looks like recommission
Oh my
isn't going to
god!
happen here. So
Oh
going to hold
no.
on to the haughty Jin.
This is actually really rough for Josh because Violet has basically been given the okay to play a Sunfall. If Josh has a counterspell, it is only going to counter it unless she plays 2. So she has 7 lands out, as far as I'm concerned,
Right?
unless I'm wrong
I
and I'm miscounting. But
I can't honestly, I don't know if that's a pile of 5 or 4. So that's the big good question. Is this 6 lands or 7 that Violet has? That might be the game. So we will see.
it very well might.
Oh, and it
That's a
doesn't
land,
matter.
just in case.
Yep.
Just in case.
Just in case,
Oh
smart
my
to pull that land
gosh.
out first. And yep, has 3 lands up to be able to pay whatever Josh would make her pay. That's now Violet also has a clock, has 2 pretty large incubate tokens here.
Yeah, I at this point I would be I find it difficult to I find it difficult to figure out where Josh's line of sight. Oh, I guess it would be to play a Hottie and attack with it, right?
Right. It definitely has to be a haughty Jin,
Once.
be able to protect it.
Oh.
Will be able to protect it.
Well, okay, let's think. If the ossification comes down, it will get countered with 3 steps ahead. But the incubator token is big enough to kill Josh on the crackback. So it looks like Josh is exactly one turn behind winning the game, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll see. It's to say 9 and a 6, so this would be 15 damage here.
But if Violet activates the caretaker's
The
talent
caretakers.
and buffs them too, then that's 19 damage, right?
Yep. So
Yeah.
gonna have to
Wow.
block here.
Yeah, Violet's basically saying, "Do you have another Into the Flood, Marn?" And Josh is like, "I don't."
And thinking about the modes here,
Oh,
unfortunately.
oh, oh no! Josh is just shy of having enough mana to clone that Jin.
Yes.
If they could block and clone the Jin and then hold up a Phantom Interference, that would be enough. But Josh just does not have enough mana for that. And they
Cloning
know.
Jin. This is getting in for 8. That
And then
ossification
kills the token. Yeah.
does kill the token.
Josh isn't dead yet. Oh, because the Picklock Pranksters can block. So it's not actually that big of a problem. But that Fountain Port is going to be drawing Violet 2 free cards every time it activates.
Yes, which is a lot. And making big tokens, honestly. So another planes for Violet, but Violet's mostly set up on the battlefield here. Has a
Yeah,
nice enough life cushion at 15, going down to 14 now.
fish.
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 Fish. Blue.
Fish.
At this point, Violet's just thinking, how can I make Josh basically just use up all their resources to block what I'm doing?
Ooh. Beza's a big deal. Beza means a lot of resources for Violet. I guess
What?
Beza actually Violet would not gain life. Would
Yeah.
gain a treasure token.
Beza's kind of
Would
what it.
yeah.
Beza's basically just a 4/5 right now. It's not
Right.
the most amazing card at the moment, but it also doesn't help against a random Jin coming down. So Violet's recognizing that it's just kind of like, it's just good to have.
Yes. And just
It,
have another body out on the battlefield.
time to move forward. Land, recommission, helping hand. Ooh, that is nice. That is real nice.
Those are nice cards. If anything, it's going to help keep Josh in it. It'll be a nice hit, and we'll see. Helping Hand going to bring that Jin back out. Moment of Truth going to be able to cast that for 1 mana here due to the haughty Jin discounts. Picklock Prankster also coming down.
We do like discounts here.
Unfortunately, with the ossification in hand,
Yeah, Violet's been holding on to. There's so many. Violet has so much exile. It really is benefiting her for sure. She's able to exile basically all of the pertinent threats that Josh is trying to get down.
yes, this has been quite the first game between these two players. We'll see.
Oh, Josh filled out.
Oh, wow. You know what? Didn't even notice that. I guess
Every
that's a risk, right?
It is a risk. Well, Josh has a lot of self-mill cards, but it's on purpose so that the haughty gens are big enough to kill in one shot. But the obvious cost is if you just keep milling forever, you're kind of lost, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And now we'll see. Moving to sideboards here, as Violet, our mono white token control player, took the first game down, Josh is going to immediately bring in those monastery mentors, wanting to be more threat dense maybe in the deck.
Yeah, the tokens list is very nice, but if Josh is able to counter the Sunfalls at the least opportunistic time at the most opportunistic times, then that's going to be the most reliable pathway to success for sure.
So we'll see. Likes the soul partitions, monastery mentor, gonna keep all the Jins and Oculuses are staying in. Oculi? Oculus?
The Oculi are extremely good because they create a creature every single turn, and that's obviously like a better potential Oculus, a second one, right? So it's just really good.
Love that. And we do see the option of Jace the Perfected Mind in Violet sideboard, the only blue card in this list. And obviously we saw Josh mill in game 1. Do you want to bring in Jace, or is that just helping Josh along with their game plan?
I feel like the Jace is kind of whatever. The plus is sort of okay. The creatures are too big. The -2 is probably fine because there's so much mill, but you really don't want to mill Josh a Oculus in case Josh is holding a helping hand. And the -X is kind of a win situation. Like if Josh has like 15 cards left, okay, cool, you win the game. But
Mm.
other than that, like it doesn't advance the game plan. It doesn't create tokens. It doesn't create a board state. It's operating on a completely different dimension from the rest of the deck. So it's only there for a nice grindy matchup, but I actually don't think this matchup is grindy in that way.
Got it. It's funny for both of these decks to have they have pretty low curves as far as things go, especially in the standard format. So that was a really long game. Normally, when you see,
It was.
uh, decks with a lot of 1 and 2 drops, you expect the games to kind of go not quickly, but just at a brisk pace. And there was a lot of back and forth in this match so far, and it's a lot of low mana costs, like it just cards that you could sink mana into, like 3 steps ahead, but definitely a lot of back and forth between these two decks.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, people look at control decks and they're like, oh, they're playing really expensive cards. But in reality, even decks with a lot of answers want their answers to be cheap, simply because you want to match the mana cost or at least be more efficient than your opponents that are also playing like really important threats. So if people are playing 1 or 2 mana spells as threats, then you definitely want to be playing 1 or 2 mana answers.
All right, we are off to the races here in game number 2 between these two players. So we see Josh playing out a second land, not with access to a third land yet, but neither does Violet. So Violet also playing out a second land, doesn't have access to a third land yet. Who will be the first to draw a third land here?
That is a good question. Let's find out. Oh,
Oh,
it's Josh.
it's Josh.
I mean, having a card that lets you look at the top 3 cards and be basically a budget expressive iteration is very nice.
Yes.
And Violet's sitting there going, well, I love that I have 7 million get loss. Uh, what do? What
And
do with this?
it looks like the first one's going to take care of that fairy and mastermind, but a fourth land from Josh and being able to play out Haughty Jin and get that ball rolling.
It
Do you
is a hottie.
It is a haughty, haughty maughty. Any
Your outfit is
consideration
so rustic. That's the
any
flavor text.
consideration really? I did oh, yes, that's right. It's so I like that. I like that a lot. Um, what about these map tokens? Now we saw Josh kind of pass the turn, leaving 1 mana up, not was going to leave up phantom interference instead of cracking a map token. Do you like sort of kind of playing it a little slower, or do you want these gins to kind of just end the game? We see Violet stuck on lands, just want to get it done with.
I think if we consider the way the last game played out, Josh is thinking, I gotta protect my Jins at all possible. Violet's stuck on 2 right now, and Josh is clearly recognizing this and thinking, I have to make sure to keep this energy going as much as possible. These Jins need to live as long as possible. Play spells, get them in the graveyard as fast as possible to hopefully one-shot Violet. Like, milled 4 spells, milled a fairy, yeah, those are
Right.
now big enough to win the game. There you go.
Violet said, "All right, that's it. I am dead." That was great. That was a very quick game. Good job on protecting those gins, like you called, from Josh. So we are 1 game apiece between these two players. Josh on Azorius tempo. We're looking at their sideboard right now, seeing if anything here wants to change. Kind of like boarding out those Into the Flood Maws, those kind of blah in game number 1. So pretty happy with their sideboards as we move to Violet's sideboard, and she's going to take a look and see if she wants to change anything. Anything you'd want to change here?
Uh, Honestly, I kind of like it the way it is. I mean, the final showdown coming out and a Beza coming out makes a lot of sense because against the blue white deck, it's like this is the amount of value they might get because they're so expensive. And Josh is playing permission, and those permission just aren't gonna work. I think,
Hmm.
or rather, for Violet. Violet's thinking like, wow, this permission, I'm not gonna be able to resolve these big things that don't even win me the game.
Yes, and we'll see. Looks like both players will comfortably make their third land drop here. And double Oculus in the hand of Josh, as well as a Monastery Mentor and a negate with a Phantom Interference as well. Drawing sleight of hand, being able to cultivate their hand is definitely part of the play of this Azorius tempo deck. Would you say that that's sort of the core of the deck is being able to cast cards like sleight of hand and uh, chart a course and things like that, moment of truth, sort of being able to curve out and just decide how each the tempo of each and every game with these cards?
Yeah, one of the best things about Azorius Oculus is that you have such good sifting. Like, it's true, it's not brainstorm, it's not ponder, it's not preordain, but the amount of sifting that you have in blue and the amount of mill that you can have, knowing that whatever you mill, it doesn't matter because everything you kind of want to be milled collectively, means that every single card draw spell you cast just gets you one step closer to what you're trying to do with your main deck plan. And that's really good because it makes your deck extremely consistent, but it also, your cards are playing double duty. Not only are your card draw cards drawing you cards to win the game, to get threats, to do all the stuff you need to happen, but they're also engines themselves. Like, they make the Hottie bigger. They do two things, which is great, and they're already drawing you a card. So it just all comes together in one really big, like, really nicely well-oiled machine.
Yeah, we see them doing some work there, putting a Monastery Mentor in the graveyard, putting a Haughty Djinn in Josh's hand that they will elect to cast here. So that is going to be able to come down. And Violet has a couple of get losts and a lay down arms in hand, as well as a final showdown, but that gets pretty expensive. We'll see Fountain Port making a treasure token. So going to try to get some value off the Fountain Port. We saw Violet has already made a fish and a treasure token. I'm going to draw a caretaker's talent as well. So has gas in hand. It's just a question of how much does Violet want to deploy here and needs to be careful about not dying in a single turn like in last game.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Negate going to take care of the lay down arm. So the two get losts destroy, but do not exile like lay down arms would have. So definitely a big deal.
Yeah, although the get loss are definitely very nice for the, especially for like the early game, because you really need to just get those creatures out of there. It almost doesn't matter if Josh has a helping hand because it's still one less turn that you're taking damage. And if that Haughty Djinn gets in for like 7 or 8 damage, it could be a turn. It could be a 2 turn kill, right? It comes in for 7, and the next turn you play like 4 spells, and then oops, you lose because it's a 13-4. So it's very risky.
Definitely. Oh, sleight of hand. It's a the illusion of choice. I'm looking at monastery mentors here, fairy mastermind or an island. So
I think the island may. No, just kidding. I mean, Mastermind's really good here. Unfortunately, Violet's thinking, oh, I gotta remove this stuff. But what did she do? She's thinking about the sunfall here. This makes sense to me.
clearing the battlefield once again, Violet is going to draw a carrot cake and from the
Man, there's
token trigger, but there's so much gas in Josh's hand too. A lot of options here for Josh.
so many oculi, though. Like, that graveyard needs to basically go away completely for those oculuses to be helpful in any degree. But the more Josh exiles their graveyard, the less the Haughty Djinns. That's probably the one weak point of Oculus, is if you hard cast your threats, they don't work with each other. Exiling 6 cards from your graveyard, but then requiring like to have spells in your graveyard for the Djinn, those two things are sort of not compatible in terms of strategy.
Right. It would
They're
be
both. Sorry, go ahead.
oh no, it would be much different if Jin was from exile or in your graveyard, like a card like Crackling Drake.
Yeah, it is true that the cards in the deck both fuel both ideas because you need a full graveyard for either card to be good. But both cards cannot necessarily be good at the same time because one has to take from the other, essentially, or vice
Yes.
versa.
See it,
Well, I
carrot.
guess the Oculus is always taking, right?
Always.
It's my favorite bounce target. Every time my opponent gets an Oculus down, I go, okay, uh, into the Flood Barn. And they go, oh, I'm sad now. And I'm like, well, now you have to exile 6 more cards. And then they do, and you bounce it again, and then oops, their graveyard is entirely exiled. What do they do about that, right? There
It's
you go.
a It's a beautiful thing. So here comes Oculus once again. I'm going to get rid of, start by looking at a couple of the creatures maybe to not bring back in Fairy Mastermind. Rather prioritize a Jin or a Mentor to come back with a helping hand or a recommission out over that, right?
Yeah, we just saw 5 spells get exiled. So if Josh were to draw Hadijin right now, it's not doing anything. it's just it's just chilling. It's in the hand. It's gonna be a 0/4 or 2/4 or whatever, and it's not gonna be threatening basically at all. A helping hand is very nice though. I will say that much.
A helping hand is nice. How much does it matter that Violet now knows about that helping hand?
Uh Violet's probably thinking, well, I have to save the Sunfall for something, but I also have a final showdown, so it's not even that big of a problem. But Violet also is just kind of chilling. She just got a carrot cake. Oh no! Josh is gonna manifest dread that helping hand. It actually doesn't matter
Oh,
at all. I just realized that.
I
Well,
did
them's
not
the
realize that
breaks.
myself.
Yeah. So Josh surveilling that to the top is kind of unfortunate, or rather mapping it to the top. There's
Yeah.
almost no point. You kind of just want to mill it anyway, so you can try to get into a creature.
Yes. Or not mill it to stay from milling this game again. But we'll see. Violet still at a very healthy 22 life. Josh is at 21. So this is definitely a matchup where I feel like either side kind of wants to win in like one or two big turns. As we see, speaking of big, Boonbringer Valkyrie on Violet's side here could play a big part in this matchup.
Yeah, even if it's targeting a token for the backup ability, having those stats and just being able to bash in is so nice.
We'll see a map activation here. The question is, will it be on the manifest or on the mastermind? And it looks like the manifest. I'm going to take a look here at the top of Josh's deck once again. Haughty Jin, the Haughty Naughty going to keep that on top and nothing to manifest this time around. So the air is clear for Fairy Mastermind to get in for 2. Violet will drop down to 20. And everybody knows that Haughty Jin is coming up for Josh next. As looks like Violet is going to cast
Nope.
Final Showdown.
This is interesting because this is basically bait, right? If Josh counters this, then Josh does not have a counterspell for whatever Violet wants to do on her turn. So Josh is thinking, do I counter this? There's almost an argument to be made to just let it be counter, let it resolve, and just have the 3/3 and 2/1 be killed. But Josh says no. Josh really wants the Fairy Mastermind out and kicking. So Violet has to play around that now.
Yeah, we'll see. Because Josh is entirely topped out.
Fun fact about the flanker, by the way, or what's the exact card called again? The 3-mana bingle. Yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah,
flanker.
Cutsil's flanker. Yep.
Yeah, that does exile a graveyard, so that's pretty cool. If Josh is getting too many haughty Jins, Violet can just go, "LOL, your Jin is a 0/4." Uh, why does try again? Oopsies.
We'll see. It looks like since Violet didn't do anything here, that might be her plan. And as we see another Haughty Jin on top of the deck for Josh, and going to keep that one there. Getting in for 3 with the Fairy Masterminds. So down
I
to
do like it.
17. Yeah, I like it. A fan, and we'll see. It looks like Get Lost going to target that Haughty Jin. Again, is this to kind of like bait out any sort of counter magic that Josh might have in hand?
Oh, for sure. Like Josh is already telegraphing it by thinking for half a second, right? So Violet's sitting there like, okay, if Josh has a counterspell, am I okay with this get lost resolving? Yes, or get lost being countered, 100%. Because now the Fountain Port makes a token, Violet draws a card, doesn't even need to cast the Parting Gust because that Sunfall is just going to come down and just slam on the battlefield.
Yeah, no
Okay,
no need to
false
flank her
advertisement.
at all.
There it
No,
is.
you are. No, you were right. We were there.
Yeah.
So Sunfall comes down. Caretaker's talent going to trigger once again, drawing a planes. So Violet with a lot of gas in hand, but now also just has the means to be able to cast a lot of things in her hand. Has 8 lands in play, 9 lands in play. So a lot going on.
Absolutely.
We'll see the map on the Haughty Jin here. Once again, taking a look at the top, unless, no, it looks like Parting Gust.
Fish.
Fish going to counter that with 3 steps ahead on Josh's side.
No fish.
No fish.
No more fish. I'm so sad. Why do you hate fish so? So unfortunate. Well, that's okay, but I was going to exile the graveyard anyway, so that Josh will not be able to do anything with this Haughty Gen.
Yeah, it looks like that might be the direction that this is going. And unfortunately for Josh, that would not only mean that the Haughty Jins are going to be 0/4s, it means that there's going to be a dead Oculus in Josh's hand that they will not be able to cast. They're not going to be able to do anything with it. Except maybe discard it later to like a charter course.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see Parting Gust once again attempting on this Haughty Jin.
Fish.
Fish. So
Fish.
Josh will
Fish,
get
fish,
the
fish.
fish. Fish.
Sure, sure. Wow, Violet did not use that flanker.
Oh, this might be it though.
Oh no, that is such good. Oh no, the Oculus is just coming down. Just play it safe, just in
Okay.
case. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, this is open deck list, so Josh is aware that there are Kutzel's flankers in Violet's sideboard. So playing around that, this is a great play by Josh. So being able to get this 5/5 down is a big deal.
Absolutely.
The fish is staying home. There's a couple of incubate tokens on the other side, so gonna leave that be, as Fountainport is going to make a token and double draw off of the double caretakers talent. We'll see Season of the Burrow and Suckin Citadel being the draws off of those caretaker talents. Taking a good look at the book that is Season of the Burrow. It's a 5-mana sorcery. You get to choose up to 5 paw prints worth of modes, and you can choose the same mode more than once. 1 paw print is you get to make a 1/1 white rabbit token. 2 paw prints, you get to exile target non-land permanent. Its controller draws a card. And for 3 paw prints, you can return target permanent with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield with an indestructible counter on it. So,
Well, if you've ever wanted an indestructible cake, this is where
yes.
you'll see it first.
Yum, yum.
Cake.
I feel
Wow,
like
I surely can't eat this. It's indestructible.
I think I've baked a few indestructible cakes.
I don't think you're baking it correctly in that circumstance. If they're indestructible, I think that you might be experiencing some technical or user errors, in fact.
is carrots or a cement? I'm not sure. We'll see. Helping Hand. Is this flankers? Is this the time that flanker is coming down? We've been waiting for flanker to come down for like 6 turns. Violet, patience paid off. I love this. Here it comes.
And that's it.
Josh
That's
did
1
not
and
love
1.
it. Wow,
I think.
no,
No, that's
that
it.
was
Yeah.
that was the match. So Violet is going to take down that matchup, mono white token control over Josh on Azorius tempo, 2-1, and a really impressive back and forth between both of our players. We saw 3 fairly different games there. We saw a lot of sideboard cards doing work for Violet there in game number 3. We saw a big back and forth in game 1, and we saw Josh kind of just take control and be able to one-shot kill there in game number 2. But really well played on both sides. But Violet takes it down. So good games to her, and good luck to her in the round of 32 next week. And to Josh, a great season. We hope to see you again next season. And that was pretty wild. That was a pretty wild matchup.
Absolutely, for sure. It's just, man, Blue-Eye Oculus can be so oppressive sometimes, but the way that the mono white tokens deck can grind away and just basically turn your card advantage into nothing because it just so much of the deck is so valuable, it's really difficult to fight against it.
Yes, it absolutely is, as we did see there. But well played by both of our players, and I'm pumped to get into our next matchup here in Wild Card Week. We are going to take a look at Anna's deck. Anna is playing Dimir Midrange, which cannot confuse with Dimir Demons. There's a lot more low cost, tempo cards coming down here. We've got Gix, Tishana's Tidebinder I see in there, the 4 of Fairy Mastermind, and 4 of Deep Cavern Bat. Here for that. Any Any comments on this Dimir mid-range deck? What do you think the strengths and weaknesses of this deck are?
Bats, 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 bats. We got some bats. Everything is flying, basically. So these enduring curiosities are so fun. If you've ever played Edrix by Master of Trust and Commander, this is the type of deck for you. You get flyer, 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 and then oops, draw 3 cards. In addition to that, you have, of course, we are playing black that has all the best removal in standard right now. And you have just some really good card advantage engines. Even Kaido is very nice. Preacher's Schism, a card we haven't seen very much yet today, but we're seeing it today. We're seeing it now. So yeah, looks pretty good.
Love
Very
it.
well-rounded deck. Very traditional Dimir though. Yes.
Sneaking in that one Plume Creed escort too. So just the one little flying flash 2/1 that gives the hexproof until end of turn. Just kind of
The little flying flash
just,
deck.
just a little, just like one little cute. I think it's adorable. I love it. I don't love it when I play against it and I try to like cut down their creatures, but it's a cute card. So
That is true. I do agree.
and let's take a look at Anna's opponent here. We have Winnie on mono red aggro. So this is very reminiscent of just like a burn deck. Just kill my opponent as quick as possible, going face. We got lightning strikes, shocks. What do you think about mono red aggro just like burn in the standard format?
What gives you that impression that it's
Right.
burned? No, I mean, mono red, like I was saying earlier during the breakdown, is just very reliable. It does exactly what you want it to do, and it's a mathematical challenge, right? You have to calculate the damage that you're dealing relative to the amount of turns that your opponent has. The longer the game goes, the more likely you are to lose, right? Because they'll get stabilized, they'll gain some life, they'll use removal. So this deck in particular is very creature centric. We've seen some aggro decks here, and we've seen some aggro decks that have a lot of non-creature spells. We've seen aggro decks that have a lot of creatures. This one is definitely more on the side of having a lot of creatures because we have things like Emberheart Challenger and Heartfire Hero that trigger when you target them, but the only things that target it are the Manifold Mouse, Monstrous Rage, and the Rockface Village, which sound like a lot, but like in practice, we'll only really see 2 or 3 of them in any given game, probably. So we got some stuff going on, but everything is about incremental advantage, right? We have a little bit of versatility with the Witchstalker's Frenzy. We have a lot of good removal, and just every red creature basically has haste or just deals tons of damage. It's very reliable.
Love it. Reliable. That's what we're going for. Consistent,
Yes.
reliable, mono red aggro versus the Dimir midrange, which can put up the same sort of degree of consistency. So we'll see how these two decks match up against each other. Dimir midrange against mono red aggro. We'll be watching from the side of our Dimir midrange player here, opening up to a 1 land hand that doesn't feel great. But looking at this 6, it's better. And Winnie also mulligan to 6. So it's like a fair thing here.
Bats, 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 bats. Look over there. It's a bat. We got a bat here.
Lots of bats and removal spells. So this is what this Dimir mid-range wants to do, right? Just get a couple of a little bit of pressure, a little bit of hand disruption, and removal.
The Smygas Siren is secretly like very nice to have as a glue because not only is it a flyer for the Enduring Curiosity, but the map token you get can also get you an extra card if you get a land. Just randomly, it'll be very nice to have.
Yeah, and we'll see that be the turn 1 play here from Anna, playing out that Spyglass Siren, getting that map. Winnie going to start things off with a Monastery Spear. I imagine no blocks, and there will be no blocks. So Anna down to 19 as she draws a land for turn. And we're going to get to take a look at Winnie's hand here with this Deep Cavern back coming down. And it is a doozy.
Oh my god, look at those cards.
Yes.
I'm very partial to taking Lightning Strike here, purely so that Winnie has less opportunities to remove Anna's creatures. And Anna has removal, so the Monstrous Rage is not that great. Witchwalker's Frenzy is a little scary, but it is sort of an expensive removal spell with only 2 creatures. That is what I'm thinking right now. The Monstrous Rage is not a terrible thing to get rid of, but like I said, Anna does have 2 removal spells, so it's probably not worth it.
Yeah, I guess this is also like thinking ahead maybe to what the future turns would look like. And next turn might hurt a little bit on Anna's side. You know, a Swift Spear with Monstrous Rage feels that hurts. that will be a lot of damage coming across, but Anna's still going to be alive at the end of the turn.
Yeah, that's the thing that really matters the most, right? That Monster's Rage is a little annoying, and it's going to deal a ton of damage, but it also takes Winnie down a card. And now that's a combat trick not for later, and it's a combat trick that is not down when Winnie has another creature down. So Anna's now thinking, wow, I can play this land, I can get this map token on my bat to see if I can get a little extra life. The Anoint with the Affliction and the Go for the Throat are very reliable here. Very nice options.
I'd love to see it.
Ooh.
Preacher of the Schism, a very
Nice.
good blocker on the
Nice.
ground.
Yeah, we love to see that.
And Spyglass Siren. Spyglass Siren also getting in the red zone. Wasn't going to stay black and chump block, so might as well send it in. If you're not blocking, you're attacking, right?
If you ain't first, you're last.
Right. So why
Right.
keep the Spyglass Siren home, right? It's not going to block. It's not going to, it would either throw it in front of a Swift Spear or you might as well just get in for that extra point of damage. It might matter as we see a hired claw coming down on Winnie's side. So
I love the decision to wait to combat to play Go for the Throat because now the land isn't making something of haste, but the Wishstalker's Frenzy can also not be attacked. His Higher Clock could be annoying, but the Preacher of the Schism plus Anoint with Affliction may be problematic.
yeah,
And Winnie definitely wants to kill that bat to get back that L strike, but Winnie also wants to kill this Preacher if it comes down.
Yeah, we'll see what Winnie decides to do. That a lot is going to be riding on this Switch Stalker Frenzy in this game. We'll see if Anna is going to deploy the Preacher or is Anna going to go with the Anoint with Affliction here and just try to stay alive? And it looks like that's going to be the choice.
I like the Anoint here because Anna's recognizing that the Witchstalker's Frenzy can easily kill the Preacher and deal a lot of damage. But Winnie, if you can stay like above, say, 8 life against a mono red burn deck, you're probably going to be fine. Because what is Winnie going to do? Draw a card that says deal exactly 10 damage to your opponent? Well, that might be legal in that might be legal in standard at a later time, but ultimately
True.
that card is not considered to be like particularly competitive.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be a race because this frenzy is going to kill this Preacher when Winnie gets the chance, but this bat is gaining just enough life. In this game, it has gained 6 life so far, which is equivalent to 2 lightning strikes. And that's insanely good value for Winnie.
We see Swift Spear getting in here. So Swift Spear comes across for 3 as,
Wow.
Kaido, Bane of Nightmares, a big draw here for Anna. That was the bane of so many players at the World Championship this past weekend. Planeswalker really bursting onto the scene out of Duskmorn. We'll see Ninjutsu, that Spyglass Siren
Bursting
back.
onto the scene. I like
Yeah,
that
it's
so much.
love it. Tapping the target creature, putting counters on it. So that's the Spear, not untapping. And to boot, the Spyglass Siren is coming back down and making another map token. Has the corner been turned for Anna? Is this Anna's game right now?
I think Anna always had control of this game, to be honest. Like, the entire game, she knew what Winnie had in their hand. She knew how to deal with their threats appropriately. She was able to meter out the removal in such a way where Winnie could not take advantage of the creatures. And Winnie's draws have not been able to sort of. I mean, maybe she could draw a haste creature and kill the Kaido, but then she's still taking 3 damage from that bat, which is very subtly winning Anna the game. So, yeah.
Love to see it. Winnie definitely measuring up the battlefield, taking a look right now. Going to shock the Deep Cavern Bat. I can only imagine it being followed up by another shock. So going to get back that lightning strike. So this would be 4 damage coming across. We'll see if Anna decides to make an emblem here. The Spyglass Siren. If this map token reveals a non-land, this could be the game.
Absolutely. And that's land.
It's a
Well,
land.
I mean, it doesn't really matter much because that Spear is still locked down. I don't. The only way I can. Yeah, I have a hard time seeing Winnie get out of this one, to be honest.
Yes, because another 1 mana, a haste creature, another Swift Spear, perhaps even with a lightning strike, would only be 5 damage, and Anna is at a pretty healthy 11 right now.
And in case we weren't sure, Anna did just draw a counterspell for that 2 mana hasty creature if it ever comes down.
Yes. We'll see what happens here. It looks like a lightning strike targeting the Kaido, but saying there's nothing else I can do. So we will move on to game number 2 between these two players. We're going to look at Anna on Dimir mid-range. We'll see how she decides to sideboard here. Look like Aklazatz is going to come in. Shieldred, want all of the Shieldreds as possible coming in here. Taking a look at counter magic. Do you want something like negate against the mono red deck?
No, you don't, because all the non-creature spells that Mono Red are playing is 2 mana or less. Now, it's true that Negate could counter a well-placed Witchstalker's Frenzy or a Lightning Strike, but really it's reactive. And against Mono Red, you can't be playing counter spells. They're playing so many spells per turn that if you're countering one thing, you're letting them resolve everything else. So it's important to just play removal spells. Duress is unironically just better because now you can see their hand, you can deal with what they're doing, you can see exactly what their plan is, and since if you know exactly what they're going to do, you can absolutely neutralize the very important thing that they need to resolve.
Yeah, we could see how important that information was from the Deep Cavern Bat in game number 1
Yes.
for Anna to know what was going on in Winnie's hand at all times and knew what to play around. So we'll see if that carries over here to game number 2 between these two players. Again, we are watching this from the side of Anna, our mid-range player. On the top of the screen, you'll see Winnie, our mono red aggro player, and this is a hand.
It is a hand. This is also a hand.
Yeah, and
Ugh.
it looks like needing to keep this 6. The 7 card hand had no interaction. It was 1 drop into 3 drop, 4 drop, 5 drop, and the fear there is that you just die to a mono red deck, right?
Yeah, the other rough thing for this hand is that there is no turn one cut down that is possible. Those verges are only going to tap for blue on the first turn. Like there needs to be an island or swamp down.
Yes, and we see. So Spyglass Siren is going to be the choice here, but just like game 1, I can't imagine the Spyglass Siren doing too much blocking here as we'll see. There is that 2-drop Hasty Mouse, the Emberheart Challenger coming down. So when you getting into the red zone, Anna's at 16, but
We do like to see Annoyed with Affliction. That is very nice.
Knowing with Affliction, definitely a good showing on top of the deck. Spyglass Siren is a 2-2 now. Is Anna going to get in? And it looks like yes, not wanting to risk losing the Spyglass Siren by blocking and losing out to a single spell.
Well, I think I know what this Anoint with Affliction is going to hit. The thing
Yes.
is, I don't know if I like attacking with the Siren here. Anna will never win the damage battle against Winnie just by playing raw creatures and trying to attack in. It's all going to be based on whether or not Anna can deal with the pressure that Winnie is pushing through. And that it doesn't work if Anna is not... Like, if Anna leaves up a 2-2 to block, that's honestly fine if Winnie uses a spell to kill it, because that's still a spell that isn't dealing damage to Anna. That's super, super, super important.
Wow. Now this Heartfire hero is going to be getting +1/+0 as well as the +1/+1 counter on it right now, uh, giving it
Yes.
haste and everything. So this is quite a bit of damage coming through. The Anoint with Affliction is in Anna's hand, so we'll be able to cut that down a little bit. At 12 life, this is 7 damage. We can only imagine maybe Screaming Nemesis or Heartfire hero here. Looks like Heartfire hero just needs to exile.
Yeah, the Nemesis by itself is actually not super crazy. It is a 3/3, which the stats are not the craziest. But the problem is Anna can't block it. Like, there's no way for Anna to easily block it. Like, to block with the Enduring Curiosity, Anna would then take 4 damage and then not be able to gain life for the rest of the entire game.
Yes.
So it's kind of like, Anna feels like on the back foot right now. It was really unfortunate that she didn't leave up the Siren to block that Swift Spear and basically force Winnie to play into it. But it is what it is.
Yeah, and we'll see. It looks like willing to trade the ability to gain life for an enduring curiosity and a little damage here. This is a lot. This is a lot of damage coming through, and it looks like Winnie might have a monstrous rage here. That's a lot of damage. That's 8
Well,
double monstrous rage. That'll do it.
that is them's the breaks, if you will.
That is the brings as we see Winnie taking down game number 2 there on mono red aggro. So we will have a game 3 between these two players. Moving to sideboards again. Anything you'd want to see changed here?
I really do think Shieldred's Edict would just be good on the very simple basis of it's a removal spell that isn't a counter spell.
Yeah, that
That first
was
hand was awful, but the second one, this one is very nice.
yes.
Very, very nice.
We see it.
Carousel.
Triple removal spells. We see Tidebinder is
We like
okay.
Tidebender in this matchup for sure. There's a lot of triggered abilities that these creatures tend to have. Oh, okay. Well, I guess we're not keeping it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I feel like the removal spell is super important here, and maybe wanting to keep up either a counter magic or removal until Anna can kind of card advantage herself back into this game.
Yeah, of course.
And we'll see what Winnie wants to do here on turn number 2. No one drop on turn 1 was probably a relief for Anna.
Yeah, anytime the mono red deck doesn't get something down turn 1, like the other deck already is at an advantage because, like I said earlier, it's a mathematics situation. It's you want your curve to hit in such a way where they get lethal damage by the time they are at 4 lands.
So we see a Shieldred the draw for Anna. They're going to need a 4th land, but not quite. And oh,
Ooh.
that Phantom Interference coming in clutch here against that
Yes.
Urbrask's Forge. That was a big deal.
Maybe we can kill a second forge.
We'll see. And yes,
Yeah, get that second forge out of here. That is super unfortunate for Winnie, but
yes.
really good play for Anna for sure.
And then a Screaming Nemesis going to be able to anoint for Affliction that one. So Anna knows what's
Okay.
going on mostly in Winnie's hand. We see Shock. Oh,
Yep.
and Witchstalker's Frenzy. So going to
This is
prevent Anna from gaining life.
so clutch that is what Winnie did because Anna was about to play that Shieldred. Like that Shieldred could come down at any turn, and if Winnie cannot prevent Anna from gaining life, that's going to be a huge issue.
Yes. That was a big game here as when Shieldred doesn't gain life, it's definitely not as intimidating against these red decks.
Oof. Oh, it's 4 drops.
Those 4 drops though. That's
Yeah, I know.
painful. That's painful. Rockface Village going to target this Manifold Mouse. I can only imagine giving it double strike. So this will be an attack for 4 getting in. Anna down to 14. Winnie still at a healthy 20. Does have a Witchstalker Frenzy in hand. So even if Shieldred or Enduring Curiosity were to come down here, they're probably not long for this world.
Yeah, the Stalker Frenzy is not as good against the Enduring Curiosity, but as long as Winnie isn't being dealt damage by creatures, the enchantment side of Enduring Curiosity is kind of whatever. Oh, Winnie just four mana? Another Manifold
Manifold.
Mouse. Oh
Ooh.
my gosh.
That is a lot of double striking that could be going on here. We'll see Rockface Village going to activate to give the other token, the other offspring, +1/+0 and haste. And it's going to do a little, trigger sharing here. Make sure that the 2 mice that are able to attack both get double strike. One of them has trample,
Hmm.
which, might matter for Winnie. No, you never know.
It's interesting because Winnie, unfortunately, like because of the timer, like you can sort of surmise that Anna has a 4 mana spell and not a 3 mana spell. But
Yes.
now that Curiosity could come in and draw more cards, Anna can't gain life. So, Winnie's not out of it yet.
Right. We'll see what it looks like. Curiosity is going to stay back on defense. Doesn't want to draw any more cards right now. Could have played out the Shielder. Is not going to.
Wow.
Screaming Nemesis. Wow, what a draw.
Oh, that Witch Stalker's Frenzy is like a lava axe now. That's
Yes,
crazy
that's
good.
huge. What
Oh
is
my
a
goodness.
huge,
It's huge. It's
it's huge,
huge.
huge.
So
So,
the land can buff a mouse, and
yes.
then Winnie can attack with 3 creatures, and then Anna has to really make a hard decision, I think.
Yes, I think this game has definitely been full of hard decisions for both of our players, especially our Dimir. Our Dimir mid-range player here has had some tough turns. This might be the toughest one yet. Priced into casting this Enduring Curiosity, I imagine it's just what's going to happen with this with Stalker Frenzy.
Yeah, Anna's really thinking hard, like, what do I block here? Because if Anna blocks the 3/3, oh, we're not in blocks yet, though. That's the
Not in
thing.
box yet. Winnie's
Is Winnie
thinking.
already gonna frenzy their own creature?
We'll see. We'll see. Winnie is considering it. As we see, Winnie did not use the Rock Face Village here. So didn't use the Rock Face
No.
Village on either of the mice. This is a huge turn. This is going to decide the match, and it looks like Witch Stalker Frenzy on the Enduring Curiosity.
I'm
See,
curious. That's it.
it's it. So Winnie says, "Nice, got a second one here." Winnie empty-handed. So if Anna is going to do something, now would be the time to do it. Spyglass Siren, Shieldred not going to be able to gain life here. Anna says, I need more than this. I need to get in. Gonna have to draw a couple cards here. We'll see what happens to Shana's Tidebinder and Phantom Interference. So we'll be able to double spell if
Yeah,
she chooses.
that screaming nemesis
Yes.
being a permanent 3 damage that's on the board is something Anna has to sort of pay attention to, unfortunately. The tie batter is very nice. It actually counters the land, which is extremely funny.
Oh, that is true. I almost feel like it's better, like giving that mouse double strike is kind of scary, dangerous, so
Yeah, it basically doubles its power for the
yes.
purposes of this particular game.
Oh, Heartfire Hero.
Oh,
Oh boy.
these draws are so good for Winnie. Like that earlier play of playing that creature and making Anna not gain any life has turned off that Shieldred so many times over. It's so difficult
Right at
to
the
work with that.
cost of a shock, a one mana spell. You would think, these red players hold on to their burn spells, want to go upstairs, but that was so well played. Such a great play
Oh,
by Winnie.
the counter wasn't the thing. Oh, Anna countered the
Uh-oh.
counter ability, but she probably
Um,
should have countered the land, unfortunately, because now that Heartfire Hero's haste, so now Winnie's basically guaranteed a win because the Heartfire Hero dying is 2 damage, and
right.
if the Screaming Nemesis gets in, then that's also like too much damage coming in.
Yeah, it needs to let the 3/3 through almost, or it can't kill. Well, the Heartfire Hero now has double strike,
Yes.
so it can be blocked with no trample.
Yeah, I guess block the Screaming Nemesis, take 3, and then Anna doesn't take damage from the mouse. It's just a waiting game at this point.
Yes. It's like, but Anna is over here just hoping that Winnie doesn't draw any burn spells for the rest of the game. No shocks, no lightning
Of
strikes,
course.
anything like that. But it looks like is Winnie going after
Really?
Winnie is going after the enduring curiosity. So
Oh
that
my gosh.
that is wild. Now Anna's got a very clunky hand here. Shieldred, Aclazotz, and Phantom Interference. It's going to be very interesting to see what she decides to go with here. Can't just hold up Phantom Interference. She'll just die.
Yeah, the Aquas that's coming down is not great because it's basically a 5 mana 4/4. Not
Yes.
having lifelink anymore means you're just so sad.
Ah, and not able to pump that Shieldred up to 6 toughness. So would still die to a Witch Stalker Frenzy, as we can only imagine Winnie has more of in her deck. We'll see the Rockface Village targeting Heartfire Hero and see what the little manifold mouse offspring decides to do as far as targeting for double strike
If Winnie
or
gives the
trample.
Heartfire Hero double strike, then she can just attack with both creatures. Because Anna is forced to block the double strike creature.
Yes. So that 1/1 is safe to live another day. Heartfire Hero getting in. What it looks like
Well,
monstrous rage. That is going to
that's
do it
great.
here.
There it
And
is.
Winnie on mono red aggro is going to take down this match against Anna on Dimir Midrange, 2 games to 1 in a wild matchup that was so back and forth, but with some amazing choices. Great games by both of our players. Good games to Winnie moving on to our top 32, and a great season once again by Anna. Anna has been a VML playoff like mainstay for as long as I can remember. So glad to see her make it this far again, and hopefully see her next season. But Winnie with that shock my own creature play, I love that.
Yeah, because it's still 2 damage to the face, but you're getting the extra effect that's really clutch. Because if that did not happen, it is highly possible that the life gained from Shieldred or Aclazotz could have resulted in a turnaround. But having that ambient effect for the rest of the game made that game really good favored for the burn deck.
I love seeing that style of play. I love seeing that this amazing wildcard week has certainly been wild here so far. And once again, a big thank you to Wizards of the Coast for making the VML possible. We appreciate you all as we move on to our final match of our wild cards. It's Brittney here on Mono White Token Control, a deck that we saw a little play in earlier. Any any thoughts about small changes in this list as opposed to the earlier deck we saw Violet Pilot?
I can take a little closer look at it. There's more creatures for sure. Enduring Innocence and Sanguine Evangelist are in this deck that were not in the last deck, which means that we took out a lot of non-creature spells. The removal suite's also a lot different. There aren't any Parting Gusts, so there's a lot less exile, and there's more Get Lost, so there's a lot more versatility, which is very nice. There's still 4 Late Unarmed, 4 Carrot Cake, 4 Creature's Talent, 4 Sunfalls. All the stuff you know and love are still in the deck, but we have a lot of really good striking differences
Yes.
that I think just really tend to exactly like what the strategies are. Yeah.
Yeah, I see that Laurent, like you said, the creature's definitely different in this deck than in the earlier iteration. And we also see the couple of negates to go alongside the Jaces in the sideboard as far as that's the blue splash that's happening in this deck. So definitely a very similar deck. I would imagine it plays just about the same, even though there are a few more creatures.
Yeah, I mean, you're amassing card advantage and you're doing your best to overpower your opponent by very sort of medium to slowly amassing your own advantage,
Love it.
for
I
sure.
love it. Can't wait to see this one in action against her opponent this week is Ollie, and they are on Gruul Prowess. This has just been the bane of MTG Arena lately, has it not? They
Yes.
had to like the bane of many people outside of Arena too, I guess. They have banned Leyline of Resonance in best of one because it was just too much. People were playing games that were lasting about a minute and a half. Everybody was dying on turn 3 and nobody was having fun anymore. But in best of 3, it's definitely a different story. Some of these decks aren't even playing the ley line in best of 3. We see that Ollie here is. What is your thoughts on the ley line versions versus the non-ley line versions of Gruul Prowess?
Well, Girl Prowess is very similar to the mono red decks, but it relies a lot more on playing the big buffing spells that you know and love from like 1998 Magic, you know? And the Leyline of Resonance allows you to basically double up those cards. So all of the buff spells in this deck are either +3 power or they draw a card, which is, you know, both very good. And all of the creatures in the deck really benefit from this idea being central in the entire list. Uh, so I really like it.
Yeah. Now, how does this matchup normally go? Like if you went in this as blind and you said mono white token control versus Gruul Prowess, how would you expect this matchup to go down?
Well, I would expect red green to basically have his big explosive turn. So when you're playing a mono white against a deck like this, you need to be very careful and think about what is your opponent playing that could cause some issues. You have a couple of overprotects and some snakeskin veils to give hexproof. Um, the removal in this white deck. Uh, oh wow, that's the wrong white deck. Hold on. Yes, the removal in this. Yeah, I still had the other one up. The removal in this white deck is all somewhat instant speed. But late on arms is sorcery speed, so you need to be very proactive with killing the creatures. Unfortunately, you can't do this for things like Slick Shot Show Off, so you're going to have to prepare for that card appropriately.
Yes, and we will see if they do just that as we enter our last feature matchup of Wild Card Week here. We have Brittney on mono white token control on the bottom of your screen, and we have Ollie on Gruul Prowess on the top of your screen. Taking a little looky here. Brittany's going to ship back that 7, ship back that 6, as they both only had one land. We'll see what she decides to do here.
I like this hand a lot. It has Beza in it. It has Parting Gust. It has Get Lost. The Kidrigger's Talon is a lot less good because you're more interested in playing the removal spells. So having those 2 removal spells is very nice if Ollie tries to do anything too silly.
Yes. And speaking of silly, off to the races goes Ollie with a ley line in play and a Monastery Swift Spear. Start things off. Soul Partition on the top of the deck for Brittney. How is Soul Partition? Because a lot of Gruul's cards are cheap to begin with. How important is Soul Partition in a deck like this? or matchup
So
like
I
that.
actually really like Sword Politician. It's sort of one of my favorite white removal spells in general. It's very versatile and it does exactly what you want it to do, which is stall the game until you can get your other stuff out later. Um, and if they want to recast it, they have to basically spend their whole turn to do so, which means you know exactly what they're doing. Brittany has
Yes.
to think hard here. Does she want to play around any hexproof cards? Because if Ollie has one or draws into one, Brittany's hand is so much worse. It's not even funny. So she needs to think, is it worth this? And she exiling the ley line just basically takes it away for the rest of the game.
Yes.
Ooh,
It's not very often you see a Gruul deck with the ability to cast a 6-drop. So we'll see
that's true.
Monstrous Rage coming down, targeting that Emberheart Challenger. Might of the Meek is the reveal here. Brittney tapped out at the moment, so Ollie knows I can do whatever I want. And this is 11 damage coming through. Going to play an untapped land. Going to hold up the Snakeskin Veil rather than try to get those couple of extra points in there because that would have only brought Brittney down to 2.
Yeah, and now Ollie has that green mana up. So Brittany's thinking, all right, well, this is actually a huge problem. I'm at 5. She's at 5 already. It's turn 3.
Yes.
Unfortunately, exiling the Leyline of Resonance may not have been the best thing to do because Ollie was able to just deal raw damage.
Yeah, and
And
we'll see that
Brittany's like, well,
that's it. Get lost on the Emberheart Challenger, and Ollie says, I have the protection spell, so let's move on to game 2." That was fire fast. That was unreal fast. Like you had said, we were expecting explosive from the Gruul player, and Brittney, unfortunately, on the receiving end of that one, going to move to sideboards here. Anything that you like, you see coming in, going out? I see exercise is a consideration.
I do like exercise. It gets rid of the ley line, but it isn't very useful to get rid of the creatures. They're generally big on her turn, on their turn. Sorry, uh, the creatures are really big on Ollie's turn. They're not really big on Brittany's turn. So we're thinking hard about like it's not really worth it to put those cards in. You want the instant speed removal so you can 2 for 1.
I love seeing Ollie bring in those snakeskin veils as quickly as they could. They were like, "I'm bring all of the give me all of them. I want every snakeskin veil in my deck right now." And we also see Flowstone Infusion, which is just a single red mana instant. Target player gets +2, -2 until end of turn.
Hey, sometimes you just need that +2, and it
Right?
works.
It's just that I feel like that is such an all-in card. It's just
Yes,
like, I just
yeah,
need
it
to
is.
kill my opponent. I need them dead, like, really, really, really fast. Because, like you said, Brittney, if this game goes long, Brittney has cards like Beza that can
Yep.
block, gain life, put out blockers, do all sorts of things, has a lot of removal and bounce spells to sort of delay things.
Even
So
even carrot cake is a little bit of a problem because it gains life as well. Like this hand is absolutely fantastic for Brittany. This is exactly the type of hand she wants to see. It has laid on arms, it has carrot cake, it has enduring innocence, it has temp block. We want to see all of these.
yes, and we will see no ley line starting from Ollie this time around. Brittany on 2 lands once again. We'll see if that changes, but else to smite, carrot cake, temporary lockdown has been a main deckable card in this format
Nice.
for a couple weeks now. We see the
That
third
is so
land
true.
on top. Brittany's looking pretty good here.
Yeah, this is far less explosive start for Ollie. There's no ley line. Their pump spells are okay. There's almost an argument that like Brittany wants to play LDA right now, or even just Enduring Innocence as a blocker and force Ollie to play cards that get past it. Because Brittany wants them to use the cards.
Yeah, I could see that, not allowing Ollie to get to that critical mass of cards that Gruul needs to win the game, especially without a ley line on the battlefield. They need a lot more in hand.
Yeah, when you're playing against a blitz deck like Prowess, you can basically be confident that they're probably not going to play very much removal for your guys. So if you want to play something and you're worried about it dying, just play it. Like it's not going to get killed. It's going to get if you block with it, it might get killed. But like if you really don't want it to die, just don't play. Like you can still play it. It's
And
not an
we
issue.
we see Flowstone Infusion, the draw off of that Might of the Meek that was cast in Brittany's end step. So not wanting to cast it on the Suspire during, but said, "Hey, I just really want this to be draw a card. Just 1 mana, target my creature, draw a card." So didn't need to hold up Snakeskin Veil anymore. Gonna get in with these 1/2s. Looks like no blocks from Brittney.
That's wild. I mean, you really want to getting that lifelink trigger what? Getting that life gain from lifelink, forcing Ollie to basically play some pump spell to get it through is stuff you really want to do. Like you do not want to give the aggro deck a choice.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe this was before blocks, because it looks like just going to kill the Enduring Innocence with that Flowstone. That
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 wasn't it.
that might have been it. That
It's not
was
bad.
not something I was thinking about using for Flowstone Infusion as an actual removal spell and not as a pump spell.
Yeah, it does both. That's why it's so like versatile in terms of what it does. It's very nice actually.
Let's see. Carrot Cake going to reveal a Sunfall that's quickly going to go to the bottom. Not even close. Doesn't have a 4th land in hand, so let alone wanting a 5-drop in hand. As Brittney's hand is a little clunky, but does have some good interaction in cards like Get Lost or Elspeth Smite.
Yeah. I like the double block here personally, just because then the temp block comes down and there's nothing that Ollie can actually do about it. They might play this Monstrous Rage, but the trample is only temporary.
Yes.
And it is only this turn.
And we'll see. Does Brittney want to respond? It looks like she will. She's going to cast Elspeth Smite on the Swift Spear that was getting Monstrous Raged, which will be protected by Snakeskin Veil. So this still means that none of the damage is going to get through from the other Swift Spear that doesn't have Trample either. Brittney will fall down to 12, but Ollie only has 1 card left in hand, and this temporary lockdown is going to clean things up pretty nicely.
Oh yeah, for sure. Temp block is always very nice. And Ollie's like, well, I do have this questing druid to draw some cards, but their aggro plan is sort of falling apart a little bit. So we might have a little bit of a longer game happening right now. Hee hee.
Yeah, we will see what is on top of Ollie's deck here. It looks like Carplusion
Ooh.
Forest and Heartfire Hero. Slick Shot Show Off, good. It's a good threat as long as your opponent doesn't have answers for it. But we know that Brittney has Lay Down Arms and Get Lost and Temporary Lockdown. So Questing Druid and Heartfire Hero it is. Is Slick Shot Show Off going to be cast in any capacity? It looks like the answer is no.
It's interesting they didn't plot it either, which means they would rather it not be shown to the opponent, even though like it could be more mana efficient later. Well, there's nothing that Ollie's gonna draw that Ollie's thinking, oh man, I really want to play this 5 mana creature and also this slick shot show off. That's not happening.
Right. The only thing that I could think of would be a second Questing Druid to be able to
Yeah,
cast the Slick Shot Show Off, cast the adventure part of Questing Druid, and then be able to cast whatever you draw off the Questing Druid. But there's no guarantee that those would be spells anyway, and that your Slick Shot Show Off would last that long either. So we'll see. Brittney's got a lot of options here. This is not a bad one.
it is not. Gain that for life, make a 1/1, always good.
Yes.
There's always that temptation to just kill everything.
Yeah, that's it also feels pretty good. Brittney definitely aware that Ollie's deck is full of haste creatures, haste threats can get out there. But again, Ollie just doesn't have that critical mass. It doesn't look with just 1 card in hand doesn't feel as threatening in this game. Brittney's still at a very healthy 12 life.
Yeah, this mountain draw does not help at all. Ollie is really lacking in gas, unfortunately.
Yes, and we see at Fountain Port the draw, and Brittney is just going to be running away with this one here. It looks like.
Gain for life, if you please.
It looks like, yeah, Beza bringing Brittney up to 16. Ember Heart Challenger, not going to be able to get through the 4/5 Bounding Spring.
Yeah, it would be a lot better if there was a pump spell that Ollie had access to. I feel like plotting the show off might be something that needs to happen, just to have it, yeah, to have it ready to go in case Ollie draws some pump spell of some kind.
Oh, but yet another lay down arms on Brittany's side. So that's a lot of removal.
Fish!
Fish,
Fish alert!
fish alert. Nobody's favorite token was a fish. Everybody was asked. A lot of people said like beast or the demon and all this other tokeny stuff. But
Well, I guess that
yep,
means they're just wrong.
never, no fish though. Somebody said the creepy toy.
Oh, that one's a little bit funky. I agree.
We'll see it. Sanguine Evangelist coming down here, making a bat.
Bets, bets, bets.
Bats and fish.
Brittney is now in the mode of I'm just gonna close out this game. I
Yes.
can win this game. There's
Right.
no reason to hold back at this point.
I feel like Brittany's had this one on lockdown maybe for a few turns, but ever since having that third
Yep.
removal spell, just to a removal spell into a removal spell into a removal spell, I feel like that's so hard for Ollie to overcome, and Ollie feels the same way as we are going to move to sideboards for game number 3 here. So we are ending our night on another 3-game match here. It's been a really wild night with these matchups.
Yeah, I really like it. This one was definitely very back and forth. It's one of the things about Blitz is that when you're playing a targeting your own creatures deck, it's a kind of it's a strategy that's very linear. So playing against it isn't that difficult. All you need to do is just remove their creatures when they try to get value off of them. Unfortunately, this does not work very well in the favor of the aggro deck, and it's like, well, okay, like what sideboard options do we even have here, right? Like what we have an active treason, some
Yes.
questing druids that are being taken out, like.
Yes. Questing Druid can
Hmm.
be a little slow,
It
clunky
can be, yeah.
for
Drawing two cards is
sure.
very nice, though.
That it definitely is very nice, and it is a card that did start as in the sideboard as well for Ollie. It was 4 of in the sideboard that was not playing any Questing Druids in the main deck.
We do love Quirion Ranger. We love the play 17 million blue cantrips and grow it to like
Yes,
7,526.
just make it huge. And we'll see if Ollie is happy with this sideboarding plan heading into game number 3 here, taking one last look, making sure everything looks good, taking out the torch to towers. Doesn't seem like you need those. Turn inside out, split the difference, keeping 2 in, 2 out. And we are going into game number 3 as both players have, like Brittany's hand looks great. Removal, enduring innocence, a little life gain. Ollie has threats, but no interaction.
Yeah, not having any of the enablers is really rough. That is a cause for a mulligan. I like this hand a lot more. I'd probably get rid of the overprotect, maybe? Just
Yeah.
based on it's too expensive.
No,
Oh, I guess no, but I don't know.
looks like wanting to get rid of the cacophony scamp as Heartfire Hero going to come down and kick things off, but lay down arms very cleanly taking care of that Heartfire Hero. So Ollie up to
Oof.
23 and drawing that ley line of resonance doesn't feel great, especially on a mulligan, 2 lands. It's like I'm never going to cast this card.
Yeah, that's really rough, honestly. Like, if it was just one more card down, then maybe Ollie could have had that down. But right now, as it is, they're thinking, man, if I play this creature and it gets killed, I kind of just lose.
Yes, we can see Heartfire Hero could be played out here. Yeah, Leyline of Resonance just feels so bad when you draw it. When it's not in your opener, you draw it, you go, well, it's turn 4. Even if you have the 4th land, you play it on turn 4, it doesn't affect the game. It doesn't affect anything. You just play out a leyline and say go. That feels really bad as a Gruul player.
Yeah, the leyline is very explosive if you get it in your opening hand, but when you draw it, it's very much like, wow, I love that this isn't a draw spell. What do you do in that scenario, you know? Like, you're just kind of stuck there.
Yeah, and it looks like Ollie recognizing that they have a shortage of threats here, was hesitant to play out the Heartfire Hero, is actually going to target, has cast Might of the Meek twice in this matchup, both times not on their own creature. So
Right.
just to draw a card, just to cycle, and we'll see if this works out. Able to hold up the overprotect here. It's just a question of will Ollie be able to put enough on the battlefield behind this Heartfire Hero to do some damage to Brittney before Brittney absolutely just takes control of this match, this game.
I feel like playing the LDA would be really nice here. Even if Ollie has some way to protect it, it's being cast on on Brittany's turn, which means that when they go to try to combo off, they have less pump, they have less damage, they have less spells. So it's a lot harder to get everything to pull off.
Yeah, we'll see. So baiting out any sort of protection spell here is Brittany casting lay down arms. Will this draw out the overprotect?
Probably, but that's okay. Even if it comes down, like that's one less card that Brittney has to worry about.
Yes, we'll see if that is the case here. And after a little thinking here, Ollie will cast the Overprotect. So Heartfire Hero, a 5/5 hexproof trampler with indestructible. Eh, So
Fish. Well,
fish.
not yet. Not yet.
Not
Not yet.
yet.
I'm getting
Soon.
into it myself.
Soon.
Sorry.
Fish.
I was promised a fish. I require a fish.
Any specific kind of fish?
Ahi mahi.
Oh, and Ollie drawing another land here. I mean, is there a world where Ollie like plays out the ley line of residence and just taps out and says like, I don't have a protection spell, like, but this is what I'm gonna have to do to win?
I don't hate it. There's a turn inside out there. That could actually get really far depending on what Ollie has. Unfortunately, tapping out like this means that Brittney is like, wow, I love that I could just kill your guy and make a 1/1 for freezies.
Yeah.
Or
And
not even do that. Like if the endurance instance comes out, Brittney just goes, I don't care. Like Ollie's not blocking with his Heartfire here. There's no reason to do that.
yes. Like Ollie's not worried about their life total quite yet. They are at 21 life, but Brittany's at 22
Oh
life. So,
gosh.
which is even worse for Ollie. Yeah, drawing yet another land here. That's painful. We'll see Rockface Village targeting the Heartfire hero and can get in here, but there's triple Elspeth Smite in Brittany's hand, and there is no other way to pump the toughness of Heartfire hero in Ollie's hand. So, uh, this might
Anyway,
be,
fights are fine.
yeah.
They just pew pew pew, you know?
Oh boy. And when Ollie is unable to attack with their 3/3 Heartfire hero, things aren't going too great. We'll see Brittany thinking about sacrificing the carrot cake here, gain a little life, make a 1/1, get to scry. So a lot of value here. Seeing a fountain port on the top of the deck. Is Brittany interested in keeping this as a fifth land drop? And it looks like the answer is yes, as Enduring Innocence is going to trigger twice, sort of.
Fish.
It's just once on each. Fish.
Fish. Fish token. I
We'll
require the
see.
fish tokens.
All right, being able to play out that fountain port and now a full grip in hand for Brittany. So those Enduring Innocence have done some good work for her, drawing a lot of cards, gaining life, doing all the things that she would want to do against this Gruul Prowess deck. And Emberheart Challenger is the draw for Ollie. And we'll see if Ollie wants to force this one out here.
It's not the worst draw, but unfortunately, Brittany has been drawing so many cards, and she has 5 removal spells.
Yes.
It's Ollie is in a very much of sort of a deadlock here, and I find it very difficult to believe that they'll win this game, especially since they sided out all of their questing druids. So there's no opportunities for drawing more cards that way, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll see. Emberheart B is going to be cast here, but Soul Partition will take care of that ley line in response. Funny enough, Ollie will have 6 lands to be able to cast it next turn,
That is
but
actually pretty hilarious. Yes, unfortunate though, because when you're playing aggro like this is not the place you want to be.
right, you never want to have 6 lands in play playing Gruul, but this is a long, long matchup. So Ollie trudging through, doing what they can to stay in this game, to stay in this match, and to stay in the playoffs here at the VML. We'll see what Emberheart Challenger is gonna get in. All right, Emberheart Challenger, a second Emberheart Challenger, and are we gonna see an Alpha Strike here?
Even if there is one, Brittany can block safety with the Enduring Innocences, kill 2 of the creatures, and just kind of chill. Right? Like it's mm,
Yes.
just take away Ollie's entire board, right?
Yeah. Ollie
No big
is
deal.
tapped out, and
He's
that
all forever.
yeah, that's Smite Exiles.
It's
So
blocked out.
no extra damage from that Heartfire hero. Gonna double block on the bigger Emberheart Challenger and maybe just a trade for the smaller one. Or Brittany is at 25. Does Brittany even have to block here?
Well, it's not about having to block per se. It's about the fact that every creature Ollie has out is a creature that Ollie can win the game with, right? And if Brittany gets rid of all these creatures, Ollie literally can't win because the entire deck is built around pumping up creatures to be very, 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 very large. But the life gain is already pretty insane.
Yes, as we see both of those enduring innocence that are going to get in. So Ollie down to 17, Brittney up to 27. Has a Sunfall in hand if
Oh
she
my
wants to
gosh.
cast it. Parting Gust, an Archangel Elspeth that can be cast and could cast the Elspeth and still hold up an Elspeth smite or two. So, and it looks like another turn inside out here is going to be the draw for Ollie, which would be great if Brittney didn't have several removal spells or ways to deal. As we see, Overprotect, probably one of the better cards that Ollie could have hit off of the Emberheart Challenger.
That is true, but unfortunately, like if it's cast first, this smite is just gonna pew,
Yes.
and those turn inside outs don't even work because it has to die for it to manifest dread. No.
Yes.
Oh wait, wait,
So,
wait. But the only out all he has is to cast both turn inside outs and prowess twice, which can work theoretically.
oh, that would work, but there is more
Yeah.
smiting in Brittany's hand, and so Ollie is not even going to deploy the second turn inside out, it looks like. It's just gonna kinda hold that one in hand. Oh,
Oops.
oops.
Well, the emotes are being used. That's how we know. Things are certainly happening.
And yeah, that's so that all comes down, comes out, and unfortunately for Ollie, leaves their side of the battlefield blank with a ley line of residence in pseudo exile and a turn inside out in hand, while Brittany has all the riches. Brittany looking like going to cast Elspeth here, has a Beza in hand as well. A Sunfall if things go too far awry, but I can't imagine anything too crazy happening here with double enduring innocence and a fish.
Yeah, I don't see a reason to ever have to cast a Sunfall here. I don't think it's even necessary at this point.
Yeah,
It's just whatever. The Beza is honestly doesn't even. It's just a 4/5.
yeah, it's just a 4 or 5. Eh,
It's a 4/5 that reads is good.
There we go. Lane line of residence comes down. Monastery Swift Spear in hand. Ollie is at 12. And this is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This would be 10 on the backswing. The Archangel Elspeth could make something, gives something a +1/+1 counter, which make it 11.
It's two actually.
Oh, it's
So
2. You are correct.
just
I'm
lethal.
sorry.
Yeah,
That
there it is.
is,
No,
wow.
never forgiven. Oh,
Never
crazy. No, I'm just
forgiven. I
never
should know
forgiven.
all the modes on Archangel Elspeth.
No, it's yeah.
And with that, Brittany on Mono White Token Control is going to take down that matchup against Ollie on Gruul Prowess, 2 games to 1. That was an impressive showing from the Mono White. Honestly, I think the Mono White Token deck was like the deck of the night. Like those were some
Oh
impressive
yeah.
games. I know that each deck did drop a single game, but all in all, it seemed like our token control players were in control of the game from the early turns, having that early removal. Cards like lay down arms, it just absolutely shifted how each of those matches went, and which is very well played. So good games to Brittany. Look forward to seeing her play again in the week of 32 next week, and good games to Ollie, and hope to see them again next season. But wow, what a night!
Yeah, absolutely. Like we really saw the power of some of this format, and just it's very clear that like the grindy deck really benefits from like the mono white tokens. That is definitely the sort of slot for that. But if you want to play something with a lot of really good removal, black is the way to go, right? So you just have some really clear colors here, and you have really clear archetypes, and the demarcations between them are pretty solid, I think. So, this format's in an interesting place right now.
It
Uh,
definitely is standard
yeah,
super healthy.
yeah, I would say so.
I love seeing the variety of decks. Like we saw a lot of different decks at the World Championships last weekend. We saw a lot of decks being submitted this week for the wild card week here at VML, the round of 48. And this coming Sunday, this time next week, we'll be down to the round of 32. So definitely a lot
Ooh.
of exciting things happening here at the VML. Make sure you're following us here, twitch.tv/VMLMTG. Follow us on Twitter at VMLMTG. Also on YouTube at VMLMTG, where we put up the week's video after the conclusion. So that's been amazing. I absolutely love playoff time. This has been so exciting. I'm glad we got to kick things off together. Once again, my name is Nicole, also known as LadyOfTheCrease, and I am joined by the lovely Kuro. So,
Woo.
any parting words you have for us, Kuro?
Always make sure you have fish in your
Fish,
games.
fish.
They're necessary. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
I, I'm partial. So I have a 2-year-old, and one of his favorite snacks is goldfish, and he'll just walk over and go fish, fish. So I'm on board with the fish thing. I think it's the cutest thing. I love
Fish.
fish. If anybody wants to give me fish, I'll take fish. I guess it's not too good to be the recipient of the fish. You don't want the fish. You want to give people fish. You want to be the fish giver, not the fish receiver.
The fishmonger.
Yes.
There you go.
But really a big thank you once again to Wizards for being awesome and making the VML possible. We appreciate you all. And for all of our behind the scenes, the admin team, all of our caster team, the players that make sure they get in their recordings and everything and help us out here. All of our viewers that have been here supporting us in chat. We love you all. And as always, the biggest thank you goes to our amazing producer, Phoebe, who held up the stream for my partner who wanted to raid us tonight, which I am grateful for, but I am so grateful for Phoebe for being amazing and just always rolling with the punches and just being so incredible. And I adore you, Phoebe. Thank you so much for all of your hard work week to week, and we couldn't do this without you. So we will catch you all next week for the round of 32 right here, twitch.tv/VMLMTG at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Next Sunday, I'll see you then.